The stars had been quiet for 3,000 years. The Galactic Council maintained peace across 47 star systems through careful diplomacy and gentle enforcement. Their ships were beautiful things, made of crystal and light metals designed more for ceremony than combat. The largest council vessel carried only defensive shields and communication arrays. War was an ancient concept, something the galaxy had moved beyond long ago. Ambassador Thiel of the Centaurian Collective floated in her meditation chamber aboard the Council's flagship, the Harmony's Voice. Her species had evolved beyond the need for solid form centuries ago, existing as pure energy contained within crystalline bodies. She was reviewing the latest reports from the observation posts when something caught her attention. The third planet of a small yellow star in the outer rim had been broadcasting radio signals for decades. The observation teams had been monitoring these transmissions with growing excitement. The signals contained music, stories, scientific data, and what appeared to be peaceful cultural exchanges. The inhabitants called themselves humans, and their broadcasts spoke of exploration, discovery, and reaching for the stars. Perfect, Thiel whispered to herself, her energy form pulsing with satisfaction. Another peaceful species ready to join the council. She called up the full report on her holographic display. The humans had achieved basic spaceflight and had established several small colonies within their own solar system. Their cultural broadcasts showed a species that valued art, science, and cooperation. They had overcome their primitive warlike tendencies and seemed ready for galactic citizenship. The council's xenobiologist, Dr. Kelvin from the Aquarian depths, had spent months analyzing human transmissions. His report was glowing with praise for human achievements in medicine, engineering, and peaceful cooperation between their various nations. The humans had even established something called the United Nations, which seemed to be their version of the Galactic Council. They will make excellent peacekeepers, Dr. Kelvin had written. Their natural curiosity and problem-solving abilities, combined with their apparent dedication to peaceful resolution of conflicts, make them ideal candidates for council membership. Thiel pulled up the standard invitation protocols. New species were always invited to join as peacekeeping forces first. It was a gentle way to introduce them to galactic society, while allowing them to contribute their unique perspectives to maintaining peace. The humans would send a small diplomatic vessel, perhaps carrying 50 individuals at most, to the traditional first contact coordinates. She began drafting the invitation message, following the same format the council had used for centuries. The message would be broadcast in mathematical sequences and simple pictographs, making it universal for any species that had achieved spaceflight. Greetings, people of the third world of Sol, she began. We are the Galactic Council, guardians of peace across the stars. We have observed your species' growth and development with great interest. Your dedication to knowledge, art, and peaceful cooperation marks you as ready for membership among the galactic community. She paused, considering the proper phrasing for the peacekeeping invitation. It needed to be clear but not intimidating. New species sometimes worried about the responsibilities of council membership. We formally invite humanity to join our peacekeeping forces. Please prepare a diplomatic vessel to meet our welcoming fleet at the coordinates that will follow this message. Your ship should be equipped for peaceful contact and cultural exchange. We look forward to learning from your unique perspective on maintaining harmony among diverse peoples. Thiel reviewed the message 3 times before transmitting it through the Council's vast communication network. The signal would take several years to reach Earth, but that was normal. It gave new species time to prepare properly for first contact. Meanwhile, on the other side of the galaxy, Fleet Admiral Marcus Chen was reviewing similar reports about human radio transmissions. But Chen worked for the Terran Space Command, and his perspective on the signals was very different from Ambassador Thiel's. Chen saw a species that had survived 2 world wars, countless regional conflicts, and the constant threat of nuclear annihilation. The humans had not overcome their warlike nature. They had simply learned to direct it more efficiently. Their United Nations was not a peaceful governing body but a complex military and political alliance designed to prevent conflicts that could destroy their entire planet. When the alien message finally reached Earth's deep space monitoring stations, it caused immediate chaos in the Terran Space Command headquarters. The message was decoded within hours and copies were distributed to every major military leader on the planet. They want us to send peacekeepers, General Sarah Martinez said, reading the translation for the 5th time. They think we're some kind of peaceful exploration society. Admiral Chen leaned back in his chair, studying the message carefully. They've been watching our cultural broadcasts, music, art, science programs. They don't know about our military capabilities. Should we correct their assumptions? Asked Colonel James Wright from the Intelligence Division. Chen was quiet for a long moment. First contact with an alien civilization was the most important moment in human history. Earth had been preparing for this possibility for decades, but they had always assumed contact would come through exploration or accidental encounter. They had never expected aliens to invite them to join some kind of galactic peacekeeping force. No, Chen said finally. If they think we're peaceful, that gives us an advantage. We don't know their intentions, their capabilities, or their politics, but they've invited us to meet their fleet at specific coordinates. This could be a trap, a test, or genuine first contact. What do you recommend, sir? General Martinez asked. Chen stood up and walked to the large display showing Earth's orbital defense network. Massive space stations bristled with weapons designed to protect the planet from any threat. Beyond them, the newest ships of the Terran fleet waited in formation, their hulls dark with stealth coating and their weapon systems powered down but ready. We respond to their invitation, Chen said, but we don't send a diplomatic vessel. We send a full battle group. Task Force Terra will represent humanity at this first contact. The room fell silent. Task Force Terra was Earth's most powerful military formation, designed for major fleet engagements against unknown threats. It consisted of 12 capital ships, including the massive dreadnought TNS Indomitable, 3 fleet carriers, and supporting cruisers and destroyers. Sir, Colonel Wright said carefully, that might be seen as aggressive. They're expecting peacekeepers. Admiral Chen turned to face his officers. They'll get peacekeepers, he said grimly. The most effective peacekeepers in human history. Our ships will keep the peace by being ready for any war. The orders went out within hours. Task Force Terra began preparing for humanity's first journey to the stars, not as explorers or diplomats, but as a military force ready for anything the galaxy might throw at them. As the massive ships powered up their engines and began their journey toward the rendezvous coordinates, neither the humans nor the aliens realized how completely they had misunderstood each other. The Galactic Council expected gentle diplomats in a small, peaceful vessel. Instead, they were about to meet the full military might of a species that had earned its place among the stars through centuries of warfare. The stage was set for a first contact that would change the galaxy forever. The journey to the rendezvous coordinates took Task Force Terra 18 months of faster-than-light travel. During that time, the 12 ships of humanity's premier battle group prepared for every possible scenario their tactical computers could imagine. The crews drilled constantly, weapon systems were tested daily, and intelligence teams analyzed every detail of the alien message. Admiral Chen stood on the bridge of the TNS Indomitable, watching the swirling colors of hyperspace through the main display. The Indomitable was 1.5 kilometers long, its armored hull bristling with railgun batteries, missile tubes, and point defense systems. It had been designed to fight entire fleets and emerge victorious. Admiral, called Lieutenant Commander Torres from the communications station, we're receiving the automated beacon from the rendezvous point. 15 minutes until we drop out of hyperspace. Signal the fleet, Chen ordered. Battle stations. All ships to maintain formation, but keep weapons powered down until we assess the situation. The bridge became a hub of controlled activity. Officers moved between stations, checking readouts and coordinating with other ships in the task force. Every system on the Indomitable was operating at peak efficiency, ready to transition from peaceful encounter to combat in seconds if necessary, dropping out of hyperspace in 3, 2, 1. The swirling colors of hyperspace vanished, replaced by the stark beauty of deep space. Stars glittered in the distance, and directly ahead, exactly where the coordinates had indicated, waited the alien fleet. "My God," whispered Captain Rodriguez, Chen's second in command. The alien ships were unlike anything in human military doctrine. They looked more like floating artworks than spacecraft. Crystalline structures caught and reflected starlight, creating patterns of beautiful shifting colors. The largest vessel appeared to be made of some kind of translucent material that glowed with internal light. Delicate spires and graceful curves replaced the angular, Armored designs of human warships, sensor report, Chen ordered, though his eyes remained fixed on the alien fleet. 12 alien vessels, sir, reported the sensor officer. Their largest ship is approximately 800 meters long. We're detecting minimal energy signatures from what appear to be defensive shields only. No weapon systems that match our database profiles. No weapons? Captain Rodriguez asked in disbelief. Nothing we can identify as offensive capability, sir. Their power signatures suggest they're primarily equipped for communication, sensors, and life support systems. Admiral Chen felt a chill run down his spine. Either these aliens were incredibly confident in their defensive capabilities, or they genuinely had no concept of armed conflict. Neither possibility was comforting. Signal from the alien flagship, sir, Torres reported. They're transmitting on multiple frequencies. The computer is working on translation. Put it on screen. The main display shimmered, and suddenly they were looking at something that defied easy description. The being appeared to be made of pure energy contained within a crystalline shell that constantly shifted between different geometric patterns. When it spoke, the words were translated into English by the ship's computer, though the voice that emerged was hauntingly musical. "Welcome, peaceful humans from Sol," the being said. "I am Ambassador Thiel of the Centaurian Collective, speaking for the Galactic Council. We are honored by your response to our invitation. Your diplomatic vessel is larger than we expected." There was a pause as the alien ambassador seemed to be looking at something off-screen. When she turned back, her energy form was flickering in what Chen interpreted as confusion. "Forgive me," Thiel continued, "but our sensors are having difficulty categorizing your ship's configuration. Could you clarify the purpose of the various external structures? They do not match our database of diplomatic vessel designs." Chen stepped forward, his mind racing. The aliens clearly had no idea what they were looking at. To them, the massive weapons arrays and armor plating of the human ships were simply unidentifiable structures. "This is Admiral Marcus Chen of the Terran Space Command," he replied, choosing his words carefully. "The TNS Indomitable and Task Force Terra represent humanity's contribution to your peacekeeping forces. These external structures are specialized equipment for maintaining peace and security." It was technically true, Chen reflected. The weapon systems were designed to maintain peace through superior firepower and deterrence. "Task Force Terra?" Ambassador Thiel's form flickered more rapidly. "We were expecting a single diplomatic vessel with perhaps 50 individuals. Our records show 12 large vessels in your formation. Humanity takes its peacekeeping responsibilities very seriously," Chen replied smoothly. "We believe in being prepared for any situation that might threaten galactic peace and stability." On the alien flagship, Ambassador Thiel was having a hurried consultation with Dr. Kelvin and the other council representatives. Their beautiful ships had been designed for ceremony and peaceful contact, not for hosting what appeared to be a full military fleet. "Perhaps we should invite a smaller delegation aboard for the traditional welcome ceremony," Thiel suggested through the communication link. "Our facilities were prepared for a much smaller group." "Of course," Chen agreed. "I'll bring a diplomatic team aboard your vessel to discuss the details of our peacekeeping assignment." What Chen didn't mention was that his diplomatic team would consist of Marines in full combat armor, intelligence officers, and weapons specialists. If this was a trap, he intended to be ready for it. 30 minutes later, a human shuttle detached from the Indomitable and began its approach to the alien flagship. The shuttle itself was another shock to the council representatives. Where they expected a small peaceful transport, they saw what was clearly a military vehicle with heavy armor and defensive systems. "Their shuttle appears to be armored," Dr. Kelvin observed nervously. "Is that normal for diplomatic missions?" "Perhaps they come from a dangerous region of space," Thiel replied, though she was beginning to have serious doubts about the humans' peaceful nature. "Their sector is quite far from the core worlds. They may have encountered hostile environments during their development." The shuttle docked with the council flagship, and Admiral Chen led his team through the airlock. The interior of the alien ship was as beautiful as its exterior, with walls that seemed to be made of living crystal, and corridors that glowed with soft, natural light. Everything was designed for beauty and harmony, not efficiency or defense. Chen's team consisted of Captain Rodriguez, Major Sarah Kim from the Marines, Dr. Elizabeth Hayes, the xenobiologist, and Commander James Park from Intelligence. They were all in dress uniforms, but Chen noticed how Major Kim's eyes constantly swept the corridors, automatically identifying defensive positions and potential threats. Ambassador Thiel met them in what appeared to be a conference room made entirely of transparent crystal. Her energy form pulsed with welcoming colors as she gestured for them to sit at a table that seemed to be grown from a single piece of some unknown material. "Welcome to the Harmony's Voice," she said. "We are truly honored to meet the first human representatives. Your species has such an impressive reputation for peaceful development and cultural achievement." Chen managed to keep his expression neutral. "We appreciate your invitation to join the Council's peacekeeping forces. Could you tell us more about the current security situation in Council space?" "Security situation?" Thiel's form flickered with what Chen was learning to recognize as confusion. "There is no security situation. The galaxy has been at peace for 3,000 years. Our peacekeeping forces serve primarily as diplomatic escorts and cultural ambassadors." Major Kim leaned forward slightly. "What happens if that peace is threatened? What protocols does the Council have for dealing with hostile forces?" The question seemed to genuinely puzzle the alien ambassador. "Hostile forces? We have not encountered truly hostile species in millennia. When conflicts arise, they are resolved through mediation and cultural exchange. Our peacekeeping vessels are equipped with communication arrays and diplomatic facilities, not defensive systems." Chen felt a growing sense of unease. These aliens weren't just peaceful, they were defenseless. 3,000 years of peace had left them completely unprepared for any kind of real threat, and they expected humanity to fit into their model of gentle, diplomatic peacekeeping. "Perhaps," Chen said carefully, "humanity could offer a different perspective on peacekeeping. Our approach tends to be more proactive in preventing conflicts before they start." "That sounds wonderful," Thiel replied, her energy form brightening. "Prevention is always preferable to reaction. How does your species typically prevent conflicts?" Chen exchanged glances with his team. How could he explain that human peacekeeping involved overwhelming force, strategic deterrence, and the ability to destroy any threat before it could harm innocent civilians? "We maintain the capability to respond to any situation," he said finally. "Our peacekeeping vessels are equipped to handle a wide range of scenarios, from diplomatic missions to emergency response." It was the most diplomatic way he could think of to describe a battle fleet designed for total warfare. The meeting continued for another hour, with the aliens describing their peaceful galaxy and the humans carefully avoiding any direct mention of their military capabilities. By the formal welcome ceremony was scheduled to take place in the Harmony Nebula, a beautiful region of space where gaseous clouds created stunning displays of color and light. It was here that the Galactic Council traditionally inducted new peacekeeping species, surrounded by the natural beauty that represented their commitment to harmony and cooperation. Admiral Chen watched from the bridge of the Indomitable as more alien ships arrived for the ceremony. Each new vessel was as beautiful and obviously peaceful as the first Council fleet they had encountered. Ships from dozens of different species gathered in the nebula, their exotic designs creating a spectacular light show against the colorful backdrop of ionized gases. "How many ships are we looking at now?" Chen asked his sensor officer. 147 alien vessels, sir, all showing the same energy signatures as the original Council fleet. Minimal defensive capabilities. No offensive weapon systems that we can identify." Captain Rodriguez shook her head in amazement. "It's like they've never heard of war." "Maybe they haven't," Chen replied grimly. 3,000 years of peace does that to a civilization. The question is, what happens when someone shows up who doesn't share their peaceful philosophy? The communication system chimed, and Ambassador Thiel's musical voice filled the bridge. "Admiral Chen, we are ready to begin the induction ceremony. Please prepare your delegation for transfer to the ceremonial platform." Chen looked at the tactical display showing the massive space station that had been deployed for the ceremony. It was another work of art, made of what appeared to be crystalline structures and organic curves that defied human engineering principles. "Beautiful, impressive, and completely defenseless." "Acknowledged, Ambassador. We're launching our shuttles now." What Chen didn't mention was that he was sending 3 shuttles instead of 1, each carrying a full security team. If this ceremony turned out to be some kind of elaborate trap, he wanted to be ready. The shuttles approached the ceremonial platform through a corridor of alien ships, their pilots marveling at the exotic designs surrounding them. The aliens seemed to have developed technology that prioritized beauty and harmony over efficiency or protection. Every ship was unique, reflecting the artistic sensibilities of its creators rather than standardized military specifications. Major Kim, commanding the security detail in the lead shuttle, spoke quietly into her communication headset. "Something feels wrong about this, Admiral. These ships are positioned like they're at a parade, not a military formation. No overlapping fields of fire, no defensive positioning. If someone wanted to attack this gathering, it would be a massacre." Chen's voice crackled back through the headset. "Stay alert, Major. These people have survived 3,000 years without war, which means either they're incredibly lucky or there's something we don't understand about galactic politics." The ceremonial platform was even more spectacular up close. Massive crystal structures jutted out from a central hub, each one glowing with different colors that pulsed in complex patterns. Hundreds of alien delegates moved through transparent corridors, their various species creating a bizarre but beautiful mixture of forms and colors. "Admiral, Chen's delegation was met at the airlock by Ambassador Thiel and what appeared to be the senior leadership of the Galactic Council." The aliens were clearly excited about the ceremony, their various forms of communication creating a symphony of sounds, lights, and energy patterns that the human translation computers struggled to process. "Welcome to the heart of harmony," Thiel said, her crystalline form practically vibrating with excitement. "This platform has witnessed the peaceful induction of 47 species over the past 3 millennia. Today, humanity joins this grand alliance of peace." Dr. Hayes, the human xenobiologist, was taking detailed recordings of everything they encountered. The variety of alien species was staggering. Beings of pure energy like Thiel, aquatic creatures in mobile water tanks, plant-like entities that communicated through chemical emissions, and dozens of other exotic forms of life. "This is incredible," she whispered to Chen. "The genetic and cultural diversity here represents millions of years of evolution across hundreds of worlds, and they've all learned to cooperate peacefully, which makes them a very attractive target for anyone who doesn't share their values," Chen replied quietly. The ceremony itself was unlike anything in human experience. Instead of formal speeches and military displays, it consisted of complex artistic performances that told the story of galactic peace. Each species contributed something unique. The energy beings created light shows that painted stories across the platform's crystal walls. The aquatic species produced haunting musical compositions, and plant-like creatures released aromatic chemicals that triggered emotional responses in other species. Chen found himself genuinely moved by the display, even as his tactical training kept analyzing the platform's vulnerabilities. These beings had created something beautiful and unique in the galaxy, a true alliance based on mutual respect and artistic expression rather than military power or economic dominance. When it came time for humanity's contribution to the ceremony, Chen had prepared a simple speech about Earth's commitment to peace and cooperation. But as he stood before the assembled delegates, watching their eager, trusting faces, he felt compelled to add something more. "The people of Earth are honored to join this alliance," he began, his words being translated into dozens of different communication forms. "We come from a world that has learned the value of peace through hard experience. We understand that peace is not simply the absence of conflict, but the active commitment to protect those who cannot protect themselves." A murmur ran through the assembled delegates as they processed his words. The concept of protection through strength seemed foreign to many of them. "Our ships may look different from yours," Chen continued, "but they serve the same purpose, to ensure that the peace you have built continues for another 3,000 years and beyond." Ambassador Thiel floated forward, her energy form pulsing with what Chen had learned to recognize as confusion. "Admiral Chen, when you speak of protection, what exactly do you mean? The galaxy has been at peace for so long that many of our younger species have never encountered the concept of defensive action." Chen realized that he was facing a fundamental communication problem. How could he explain military strategy to beings who had never experienced war? How could he describe the necessity of deterrence to creatures who had never faced a genuine threat? "On Earth," he said carefully, "we learned that peace must be actively maintained. Sometimes the best way to prevent conflict is to make it clear that you are prepared for it. Our ships are designed to discourage any force that might threaten innocent civilians." A delegate from what appeared to be a crystalline species spoke up, its voice sounding like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. But what force could threaten us? The galaxy is at peace. All species have agreed to the principles of harmony and cooperation. All known species. Chen corrected gently. But the galaxy is vast. There may be civilizations out there that haven't yet encountered the Council. Civilizations that might not share your peaceful philosophy. The suggestion seemed to disturb many of the delegates. Several species began communicating rapidly among themselves in ways that the human translation systems couldn't follow. Chen could sense growing unease in the gathering. Dr. Kelvin, the Aquarian xenobiologist who had originally recommended humanity for council membership, flowed forward in his mobile water tank. Admiral Chen raises an interesting point. Our long peace has perhaps made us complacent about potential external threats. The humans come from a region of space that we have not fully explored. Perhaps their perspective on defensive preparedness has merit. But surely, interjected a delegate whose appearance resembled a living tree with bioluminescent leaves, any species capable of interstellar travel would have evolved beyond primitive aggressive behaviors. War is a sign of evolutionary immaturity. Major Kim stepped forward slightly, her military bearing evident even in the formal diplomatic setting. With respect, sir, evolution doesn't eliminate the possibility of aggression. It just makes it more sophisticated. A species that conquers other worlds has access to resources and technology that peaceful species don't. That makes them dangerous, not immature. The observation sent another wave of disturbed communication through the assembled delegates. Many of them had clearly never considered the possibility that peaceful development might actually be a disadvantage when facing hostile forces. Ambassador Thale raised her crystalline appendages, calling for calm. Perhaps this is a discussion better suited for private council chambers rather than a celebration. Admiral Chen, would you and your delegation be willing to meet with the council leadership tomorrow to discuss these security considerations? Of course, Chen replied. We're here to serve the cause of peace in whatever way the council thinks best. The ceremony continued, but the mood had changed. The aliens were still welcoming and friendly, but Chen could see uncertainty in their various forms of expression. His words had introduced. News of humanity's arrival spread through the galaxy faster than anyone expected. Within days of the ceremony, reports of the heavily armed human fleet reached every corner of council space and beyond. The reaction was immediate and divided. On the peaceful world of Serenity Prime, capital of the Harmony Collective, millions of citizens gathered in meditation centers to discuss the disturbing news. The very concept of warships had to be explained to younger generations who had grown up believing that conflict was an ancient relic of primitive civilizations. Elder Vess, a being whose species had transcended physical form centuries ago, addressed the gathering with grave concern. These humans speak of peace through strength, of deterrence through the threat of violence. Such concepts are foreign to our understanding of civilized behavior. But on the outer rim worlds where contact with unknown species was more common, the reaction was different. The mining colonies of the Asteroid Belt Federation had dealt with pirates and raiders from uncharted space for decades. Their security forces, limited to small patrol ships and defensive stations, had often felt helpless against well-armed threats. Captain Zex, a grizzled security officer from Mining Station Omega-7, studied the tactical reports of the human fleet with professional interest. Look at these weapon specifications, he told his team. Railguns capable of punching through 2 meters of battle steel. Missile systems with multi-stage warheads. Point defense networks that could stop anything short of a full fleet assault. His second-in-command, a young Centaurian named Wraith, shook her energy form nervously. But Captain, such weapons could destroy entire cities. Why would anyone build such things? Because, Zex replied grimly. Sometimes you need to destroy cities to protect them. These humans understand something the core worlds have forgotten. Peace isn't free. It has to be earned and maintained. The reaction was even more pronounced among species that had been forced to accept council membership rather than choosing it freely. The Krell Empire had been defeated by council peacekeepers 600 years ago, their warlike culture suppressed through extensive rehabilitation programs. Now, descendants of Krell warriors looked at the human fleet specifications with something approaching awe. General Thrak, leader of the Krell Rehabilitation Council, studied the classified reports that had been leaked through unofficial channels. The humans possessed weapons technology that made the old Krell war machines look like toys. More importantly, they seemed to understand the strategic principles that the Krell had been forced to abandon. They call themselves Peacekeepers, Thrak told his inner circle, but they think like warriors, real warriors, not the ceremonial guards that the Council calls Peacekeepers. Word of Thrak's interest reached the Council leadership within hours, causing immediate concern among the more peaceful species. Ambassador Thiel found herself in constant emergency sessions as reports poured in from across the galaxy. The situation is becoming unstable, reported Dr. Kelvin during one particularly tense meeting. 17 different species have submitted formal requests for information about human military technology. 3 outer rim worlds have asked if they can request human peacekeeping assistance for local security issues. And the Krell Empire is showing signs of renewed militaristic thinking, added Councillor Mirith from the Plant Collective. Our rehabilitation monitors report increased discussion of ancient warrior traditions and military history. Ambassador Thiel's energy form flickered with stress patterns. What have we done? We invited a peaceful species to join our peacekeeping forces, and instead we've introduced concepts that threaten the very foundation of galactic harmony. On the other side of the galaxy, Admiral Chen was dealing with his own set of problems. The human fleet had been assigned to patrol duties in the outer rim sectors, ostensibly to familiarize themselves with Council space and procedures. In reality, Chen suspected it was an attempt to keep them away from the core worlds, while the Council figured out what to do with them. Admiral, reported Commander Torres from the communications station, we're receiving our 15th request today for assistance. This one is from the Tau Ceti Mining Collective. They report increased pirate activity in their sector and request immediate military support. Chen studied the tactical display showing the outer rim sectors. In the week since the ceremony, they had received dozens of similar requests. Apparently, the galaxy's 3,000 years of peace hadn't extended to the frontier regions, where uncharted space still held unknown threats. What's the Council's official response to these requests? Chen asked. Standard protocol is to send a diplomatic mission to mediate the dispute, Torres replied. The Council doesn't recognize the concept of piracy as anything more than a misunderstanding between different cultures. Captain Rodriguez shook her head in disbelief. Misunderstanding? These pirates have destroyed 3 mining stations and killed over 200 civilians. The Council believes that proper communication and cultural exchange can resolve any conflict, Torres continued. They've dispatched the mediation vessel Gentle Wisdom to negotiate with the pirate groups. Chen felt a chill of foreboding. A mediation vessel? What are its defensive capabilities? Defensive shields only, sir. No weapon systems. The crew consists of diplomatic specialists and cultural anthropologists. They're sending diplomats to negotiate with pirates who have already proven they're willing to kill civilians, Rodriguez said grimly. It's going to be a massacre. Chen made a decision that would change everything. Signal the fleet. We're altering course to intercept the Gentle Wisdom. And send a message to the Council. We're taking proactive steps to ensure the success of their diplomatic mission. Sir, Torres said carefully, our orders were to remain in this sector and observe Council peacekeeping procedures. Our orders were to serve as peacekeepers, Chen corrected. Sometimes keeping the peace requires making sure diplomats don't get themselves killed. Task Force Terra altered course toward the Tau Ceti system, leaving the Outer Rim patrol area for the first time since their arrival. The move was immediately detected by Council monitoring stations, triggering another wave of emergency meetings at the galactic capital. The humans have left their assigned patrol area, reported the duty officer to Ambassador Thiel. They're heading toward the Tau Ceti incident zone. Without authorization? Thiel's energy form flared with alarm. They claim they're providing escort services for the Gentle Wisdom. But Admiral Chen's message specifically mentioned proactive peacekeeping measures. Thiel felt a growing sense of crisis. The humans were acting independently, making military decisions without consulting the Council. It was exactly the kind of behavior that the galaxy's peaceful civilization was designed to prevent. Contact Admiral Chen immediately, she ordered. Remind him that all peacekeeping actions must be coordinated through proper council channels. But Chen's response only made things worse. Ambassador, with respect, the time for coordination has passed. Your diplomatic vessel is heading into a combat zone with no protection. We cannot allow civilians to be endangered by hostile forces while we debate proper procedures. The word combat sent shockwaves through the council leadership. It was a term that hadn't been used in official communications for centuries. Meanwhile, in the Tau Ceti system, the pirate fleet was preparing to attack another mining station when their sensors detected something unprecedented. 12 massive vessels had just dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the system, and their energy signatures were unlike anything in the pirates' database. Captain Vorth, leader of the Crimson Fleet, studied the sensor readings with growing unease. What are those things? They're huge, but they don't match any council ship design in our files. His tactical officer, a scarred veteran of dozens of raids, shook his head. Unknown configuration, Captain. But those energy readings, they're not showing defensive systems only. These ships are armed for war. For the first time in his career, Captain Vorth faced an unknown factor. His fleet of modified freighters and salvaged warships had been successful against Council peacekeepers because they knew exactly what to expect. Beautiful, peaceful vessels with minimal defensive capabilities and no willingness to use lethal force. But these new ships were different. They moved with military precision, maintained perfect formation, and radiated an aura of controlled lethality that made Vorth's veteran crew nervous. "Should we withdraw, Captain?" asked his second-in-command. Vorth stared at the tactical display, watching the unknown fleet advance steadily toward the inner system. Every instinct told him to run, but his pride as a successful pirate leader held him back. "No," he said finally. "They're probably just another council experiment, some new type of peacekeeping vessel. We'll show them what happens to anyone who interferes with the Crimson Fleet." It was a decision that would echo throughout the galaxy and mark the beginning of a new era in galactic politics. The age of unchallenged peace was about to end, and humanity was about to demonstrate exactly what they meant by proactive peacekeeping. As Task Force Terra continued its advance toward the inner system, Admiral Chen studied the tactical display showing the pirate fleet's position. They were holding formation near the mining station, apparently waiting to see what the humans would do. "Signal the pirate vessels." Chen of the confrontation in the Tau Ceti system lasted exactly 17 minutes. When it was over, the Crimson Fleet had ceased to exist as a military force, and the galaxy had received a shocking demonstration of what human peacekeeping actually meant. Captain Vorth's decision to challenge the human fleet proved to be his last mistake. When Task Force Terra's surrender demand was met with weapons fire from the pirate vessels, Admiral Chen's response was swift and overwhelming. The human ships moved with precision that spoke of centuries of military evolution, their weapon systems targeting pirate vessels with devastating accuracy. The Crimson Fleet's modified freighters and salvaged warships, which had seemed so formidable against defenseless mining stations, crumpled under the focused fire of human railguns and missile systems. Within minutes, half the pirate fleet was disabled or destroyed, and the remainder was desperately signaling surrender. "Cease fire," Admiral Chen ordered as the last pirate vessel powered down its weapons. "Signal the survivors. They are to proceed immediately to the nearest council detention facility. Any attempt to flee or rearm will result in immediate destruction." Captain Rodriguez studied the tactical display, where the wreckage of 8 pirate ships drifted among the surviving vessels. "Admiral, we're receiving emergency transmissions from across the sector. Word of the engagement is spreading faster than our communication network." "What's the council's response?" Chen asked. "Multiple emergency sessions have been called. Ambassador Thiel is requesting immediate consultation. And sir, we're getting reports of unusual activity from various species across the galaxy. Some are expressing alarm, others are requesting similar protective services." Chen nodded grimly. He had expected this reaction. The galaxy's 3,000 years of peace had been maintained by the absence of any credible military threat. Now that such a threat had been demonstrated, even in service of protecting innocence, the delicate balance of galactic politics was shifting. The immediate aftermath, of the Tau Ceti incident revealed the true scope of the problems facing galactic civilization. Within hours of the engagement, reports began pouring in from across Council space. Dozens of minor conflicts that had been simmering beneath the surface of galactic peace suddenly erupted into open confrontation. On the mining world of Kepler 442b, labor disputes that had been ongoing for months suddenly turned violent when one faction realized that the Council's peaceful mediation had no enforcement mechanism. In the Outer Rim systems, several species that had been grudgingly accepting Council authority began testing the boundaries of their agreements. Most disturbing of all, long-range sensors detected massive fleet movements from beyond the galactic rim. Unknown ships, far larger and more numerous than anyone had expected, were approaching Council space with clearly hostile intent. Ambassador Thiel convened an emergency session of the full Galactic Council, bringing together representatives from all member species. The Great Assembly Hall on the capital world of Harmony had not seen such tension in centuries. "The situation is unprecedented," Thiel began, her energy form flickering with stress patterns visible even to non-telepathic species. "The humans' actions in Tau Ceti have fundamentally altered the galactic security paradigm. We must decide how to respond." Elder Vess of the Harmony Collective spoke first, his ancient voice carrying the weight of centuries of peaceful tradition. "The humans have introduced violence into our galaxy on a scale we have not seen in millennia. Their weapons destroyed 8 vessels in minutes. Such power cannot be allowed to remain unchecked." But Captain Zex from the Asteroid Belt Federation had a different perspective. Those 8 vessels had killed over 200 innocent miners and were preparing to attack another station. The humans stopped a massacre that hour. Diplomatic protocols couldn't prevent. The debate that followed revealed deep divisions within the Council that had been hidden beneath 3,000 years of enforced harmony. Species from the protected core worlds argued for restricting or expelling the human fleet, while frontier species demanded increased protection from threats that the Council had been unable or unwilling to address. Dr. Kelvin presented the most disturbing information of all. "Long-range sensors have detected a massive fleet approaching from outside our galaxy. Initial estimates suggest over 1,000 vessels of unknown configuration. They will reach our outer territories within 6 months." The revelation sent shockwaves through the Assembly. An external threat of such magnitude was beyond anything the Council had prepared for. "What do we know about these intruders?" asked Councillor Mirith. "Very little," Dr. Kelvin admitted. "They do not respond to communication attempts, and their technology appears to be designed specifically for conquest and destruction. Our preliminary analysis suggests they are the remnants of a galaxy-spanning empire that consumed all available resources in their home region and are now expanding outward, General." Thrak of the Krell spoke for the first time during the session. "These are not pirates or raiders seeking profit. This is a military force designed for total conquest. Our peaceful mediation techniques will be useless against them." The stark reality of the situation began to sink in. The galaxy faced an existential threat that 3,000 years of peaceful evolution had left them completely unprepared to handle. "What are our defensive capabilities?" Elder Vess asked, though the question seemed to pain him. "Minimal," admitted Fleet Coordinator Zenth. "Our peacekeeping vessels are designed for ceremony and diplomatic escort. We have perhaps 50 ships in the entire galaxy that could be considered combat-capable, and most of those are obsolete designs from centuries ago." "Except for the humans," General Thrak observed quietly. All eyes turned to the tactical display showing Task Force Terra's specifications. 12 ships with combined firepower that exceeded the entire Council fleet's capabilities. Ambassador Thiel made the most difficult decision of her long career. "Contact Admiral Chen. Request immediate consultation on galactic defense preparations." The meeting with Admiral Chen took place aboard the TNS Indomitable, with Council representatives experiencing their first glimpse of a true warship's interior. The corridors were functional rather than beautiful, designed for efficiency and damage control rather than aesthetic appeal. Everything spoke of a species that had learned to survive through strength and preparation. "Admiral," Thiel began, "we find ourselves facing a threat that our civilization is unprepared to handle. We request your assistance in developing defensive strategies." Chen studied the intelligence reports that the Council had shared, his expression growing grimmer with each page. "This isn't a raiding force or exploratory fleet. This is a full military invasion designed to strip mine entire star systems. Based on these energy signatures and formation patterns, I estimate they're carrying enough firepower to sterilize every inhabited world in council space. What do you recommend? Asked Dr. Kelvin. You need a fleet, Chen said bluntly. Not peacekeeping vessels or diplomatic escorts. Real warships designed for combat. You need trained crews, integrated command structures, and industrial capacity to support sustained military operations. But we are a peaceful civilization, protested Elder Fess. We cannot simply abandon 3,000 years of harmony and become warriors. You don't have to become warriors, Chen replied. But you need to support those who are willing to fight for your peace. Task Force Terra can serve as the core of a defensive fleet, but 12 ships cannot protect an entire galaxy. General Thrak leaned forward. What would you need from us? Industrial support for ship construction, trained personnel to crew additional vessels, and most importantly, the political will to do whatever is necessary to protect innocent lives. This invasion force won't be interested in negotiation or cultural exchange. They'll take what they want and destroy anything that resists. The implications were staggering. The peaceful galaxy would have to transform itself into something it had never been. A military alliance capable of total war. How long do we have? Thiel asked. 6 months until they reach the outer systems, Chen replied. But if we're going to build an effective defense, we need to start now. Every day we delay makes victory less likely. The decision came down to a simple choice. Abandon their peaceful philosophy and fight for survival, or maintain their principles and face extinction. Elder Vess spoke for the core worlds. We cannot abandon everything we have built. General Thrak spoke for the frontier. We cannot survive if we don't adapt. Ambassador Thiel found herself caught between two incompatible philosophies. But as she looked at the projections showing the invasion fleet's advance, the choice became clear. Admiral Chen, she said formally, the Galactic Council hereby requests that humanity assume primary responsibility for galactic defense. We offer our full support and resources to whatever military preparations you deem necessary. And if our methods conflict with your peaceful principles? Chen asked. Thiel's energy form stabilized into patterns that spoke of resolve despite fear. Then we will learn to live with the contradictions. Peace protected by war is still preferable to no peace at all.